In recent weeks, experts in Washington and across America's farming heartland have begun sounding the alarm. China is preparing for a massive rollout of next-generation autonomous agricultural drones, machines so advanced they could push US farmers out of the global market entirely. It began quietly this summer. Reports emerged from China's Heilongjiang and Sichuan provinces, describing secret test sites where thousands of hectares of farmland were being cultivated, completely without human labor. According to the South China Morning Post, these weren't experimental plots. They were early phases of a nationwide transformation. Now the truth is coming into focus. This isn't a pilot project. It's a full-scale national program backed by China's biggest tech and defense giants, DJI, Huawei, BYD, and even contractors from the state's military sector. Sources quoted by Reuters confirm that the Ministry of Agriculture and China's Central Military Commission have built a single, unified ecosystem, one where military-grade AI is being fused directly into the farming industry. A Brookings Institution report describes these new drones as capable of performing nearly every function once handled by American farmers: seeding, fertilizing, irrigation, crop spraying, even partial harvesting, all without human touch. Each drone communicates with dozens of others, forming synchronized swarms controlled by artificial intelligence algorithms once developed for the Chinese military. In short, Beijing is executing a dual-use strategy, using the same core technology to both enhance its defense and undercut US economic strength. What makes this moment especially alarming is the timing. The rollout coincides with a new phase in the US-China tariff standoff. After Washington imposed fresh tariffs on Chinese steel, electronics, and machinery, Beijing struck back, targeting America's key exports: soybeans, corn, wheat, and pork. These industries were already under strain. Now, with Chinese drone farms cutting production costs by up to 50%, the blow could be fatal. Economists at Purdue University warn that if Beijing launches mass production of these automated farms, the US could lose up to a quarter of its global agricultural market share within just 5 years. Chinese state media are already celebrating. Videos show hundreds of synchronized drones cultivating endless fields as farmers merely monitor progress from their smartphones. Beijing frames it as a food security revolution. But in Washington, it's viewed as something far more serious: a direct challenge to America's agricultural dominance. And the implications reach beyond economics. Reports from Nikkei Asia reveal that China's drone farms aren't limited to its own soil. They're also appearing across Africa and Southeast Asia, in nations deeply tied to Beijing through the Belt and Road Initiative. For the US, this is a geopolitical earthquake. For decades, America extended its global influence through grain exports and agricultural technology. But now, developing countries in Africa and Latin America are turning toward China, where food production is faster, cheaper, and fully automated. Inside the US Department of Agriculture, urgency is rising. Officials reportedly preparing an emergency assessment of what some are calling a technological collapse of American farming. One senior official told the Washington Post, "If our farmers can't compete on price and scale, the US Farm Belt could face a systemic crisis. This is no longer just an economic problem, it's a political one." Agricultural states like Iowa, Kansas, and Nebraska have long been the backbone of US elections. A collapse there could destabilize domestic politics nationwide. But the threat runs even deeper, into the realm of data and surveillance. Each Chinese drone gathers gigabytes of information: soil quality, humidity, crop health, even worker biometrics. According to the Financial Times, all that data flows into centralized state databases where it's processed by artificial intelligence. The result? China doesn't just harvest crops. it harvests intelligence. Agriculture, once a simple industry, has now become a new front in global data warfare. For American farmers, the choice is grim. Either adopt their own autonomous systems and robotic farms, or slowly disappear from the global stage. But unlike China, where the government centrally funds and directs development, the US farm sector is fragmented and dependent on private loans and state subsidies. That gives Beijing a decisive edge. It can invest billions at will, scaling innovations nationwide, while the US debates budgets in Congress. Gradually, policymakers are beginning to see the full scale of the threat. What began as a competition over exports is becoming a strategic crisis. The American agricultural system, built over generations of hard work and stability, is cracking under technological pressure. China isn't just introducing a new farming tool. It's rewriting the very model of food production, one that's automated, self-sufficient, and nearly immune to external shocks. And as the system expands, the ripple effects are already being felt. First, global grain prices drop as Chinese drone farms flood markets with low-cost harvests. Next, US suppliers lose contracts as buyers shift toward Asia's cheaper, high-yield production. Soon after, the impact spreads, hitting banks, insurers, and transport companies tied to the agricultural economy. A blow to farmers could trigger a wave of economic disruption across the entire American Midwest. In small towns, the anxiety is palpable. Farmers speak of the future with a fear not felt since the Great Depression. Younger generations are leaving for cities, while older ones lose the land their families worked for generations. To many, it feels as if the digital revolution arrived overnight, turning farmers from competitors into survivors. Meanwhile, Beijing's strategy continues to unfold, quietly, efficiently, relentlessly. Alongside its drone rollout, China is building a new global agricultural supply network. It's gaining control over fertilizers, seed genetics, and farm machinery exports, creating an interlinked food ecosystem managed from Beijing. Nations that depend on these technologies gradually become part of China's sphere of influence. No declarations, no military force, just economic gravity. If China succeeds in setting the terms of the global grain and soybean trade, it will hold not only an economic advantage, but political leverage across continents. In Washington, the realization is dawning. This is not a trade dispute. It's a fight for control of the world's food supply. Some US lawmakers and researchers are now calling for a unified national response, a central platform to digitize agriculture, strengthen domestic tech supply chains, and restore independence from foreign systems. But such change takes years, and China isn't waiting. Every month, new drone farms appear. New standards are established. New markets open. If the trend continues, the concept of the American farmer may soon be a relic of the past. Fields that once symbolized US independence could soon become battlefields for machines, where human labor is replaced by AI and global control of food becomes a tool of power. This is more than technological rivalry. It's a struggle over who feeds the planet, and, by extension, who leads it. The defining question now is simple. Can the United States adapt before it's too late? Or will the future of farming, and perhaps food itself, be written in Beijing?